this time, I'm going to get right to it. Today's show is all about the Denon PMA 1700NE integrated amplifier. Now, I have a history with Denon, and this amp today brought me back to those days in the 90s when I was selling Denon integrated amplifiers and receivers and CD players when I was a hi-fi salesman. And the sound then, I remember it so well. The sound was buttery, smooth, rich, just people just gobbled it up, you know. NAD, not in that league. Now, NAD was really good. It was less expensive. It was really good. But Denon kind of ruled in, let's say, the mass market audiophile integrated amp receiver range. At least that's the way I recall it. And this one today, the PMA 1700NE, feels like that. Yeah, it's still got that sound. It's rich. It's smooth. It's so easy to listen to. And this amp, well, is a powerhouse. I mean, it doesn't have a high power rating, but pretty much everything I threw at it, it just cut right through. It is made in Japan, just like the good old days. Its build quality feels extra solid. It weighs nearly 39 pounds. It has an aluminum faceplate and aluminum faced, or whatever you want to call it, knobs. And the knob feel, yeah, the knob feel. Is it as good as the good old days? It's good. The 1700 is really good, but I just remember them being silkier feeling than this one. It's not bad, but it's not quite up to the standards of the way I remember them feeling in the 90s. So, let's take a look at the back panel. The back panel, well, the first thing that grabbed my attention was those AB speaker outputs. So you can hook up two sets of speakers to the PMA 1700NE, and those connectors are actually all metal. Nice. Nicely done. The other thing we notice is it has a USB DAC input plus two optical inputs, one coaxial, and the internal DAC is high-res for PCM up to 384 and many multiple times of DSD sampling rates. You know, it also has preamplifier outputs, so you can hook it up to a power amp or more likely subwoofers, stereo subwoofers, since it has left and right preamp outputs. Up on the front panel, you'll see it has a easy to read display and a headphone jack, a 1/4 inch headphone jack. So the quality feel is first rate, except when you get to the remote. The remote is all plastic, not very impressive, but you know, Oh, the price is $2,099, and the PMA 1700NE is available in silver or black finishes. Before I forget, yes, there will be an Audiophiliac viewer system of the day later on in the show. So the very first speakers I hooked up had to be these. They were still here at the time the Denon arrived. The KEF Reference 3 Meta. Big honking speakers. A very hard load though. They are 4 ohm rated speakers that drop down to 3.2 ohms. So they're current hungry speakers. Could the Denon 1700NE match up? Could it drive these puppies and make them scream? And yes, they did. No problemo. Next up was an even tougher to drive speaker, a much less expensive speaker, the Magnepan LRS Plus. It's rated at 4 ohms, but it's a very low sensitivity speaker. It really is a taxing load for many, many amplifiers. And how would the 1700NE handle that? And the answer is very, very well. Even when I played it fairly loud, it wasn't having any problems with that. But what it did really exceptionally well, this marriage of the Denon and Magnepan, was the transient life of music. Brass instruments, percussion, cymbals, the sparkle, the resolution, the detail, all of that was very, very, very impressive. Now, voices over the Magnepan sounded full and complete. It's not a rich sounding speaker, but I felt that the Denon was pulling as much richness out of that speaker as you could get for an amplifier of this price class, let's put it that way. And then dynamically speaking, the LRS Denon marriage was good. It had, well, it wasn't like a horn speaker, but it definitely did not sound, tapped down or muted. No, it had plenty of jump to it. So the next speaker I hooked up I chose for contrast, because I'm always looking for that. I want to hear one kind of sound, then another sound. So the next speaker was the Buckhart S400 Mark II, actually a pair of them. And I was playing this David Johansen record. Now this is a Chesky recording done in a church. I was present at that session. Actually, I was working at that session. And David Johansen, formerly of the New York Dolls, I mean, he was really into this, of recording live to 2-track. Actually, this was his second Chesky recording. Both done in churches, by the way. So no compression, no equalization, just what happened at the session was on the recording. And I'm playing my favorite track on this record, which is called Death Letter. You know, it's practically a blues standard. And it's just so emotionally wrenching. It's about, you know, a man whose woman is gone. And David just put so much into that vocal. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. And the combination of the Buckhart and the Denon, it was doing it. It was just taking me there, taking me back to the church. I guess it's about 20 years old, that recording. But anyway, phenomenal. And I got to say, David Johansen was such a trip to be around at these sessions. He was he's so into the recording this way, but just as a musician, as a human being, he was just open to everything. He wasn't on guard. He was just totally relaxed, totally up to do this music. So anyway, great times. And listening to this recording, at least for me, brought it back. But for you, if you've ever been a fan of Johansen or the New York Dolls or his other persona, which just jumped out of my head right now, you got to check out this recording. You guys know that I'm really into Brian Eno. And this recording he did with David Byrne, My Life in the Bush of Ghosts, is so good. It's definitely not an audiophile recording in the sense of being pure. It's all about processing and screwing around with sound. And the layering of the soundstage, the depth, the width, the height, everything about it just took over the room coming out of the Buckhart S400 Mark IIs. Really, really nice. And the bass. These speakers are not big speakers, but they literally feel like full-range tower speakers. They do have a passive radiator on their backside, and that's part of why they can do it. But anyway, I'm playing the Eno record and just reveling in how the hell did he do this back in, I guess it's the late 70s or early 80s. Anyway, again, if you haven't heard this recording and you like far-out music that's not normal, highly processed, highly produced music. Oh, I just want to mention one other recording real fast. This new Regina Spektor record. She's amazing. But the first track, Becoming All Alone, I'm listening to that. I kept playing that one over and over again. And I started to think, wow, yeah, I know why I'm listening to it all the time. Is because her voice, mostly on that track, she sounds so much like Amber Rubarth, the Chesky artist, who I'm just like, phew, Amber is incredible. So here I'm listening to Regina Spektor, I'm saying, yeah, she's got that same thing going in her voice, this relaxed, very open, very like an ease to her singing that's irresistible. Anyway, check out that recording. So I did squeeze in some time listening to vinyl with the PMA 1700 NE, and with a moving coil cartridge, a Dynavector XX2 with my Technics SL1200G turntable. And yeah, it's a moving coil cartridge, meaning if there's any noise that this phono preamp's going to make, I'm going to hear it. And no, it was dead quiet, very transparent, very clear, very focused imaging. I liked everything about it. I did feel that actually the phono preamp was a little lean sounding for my taste. Very, big on transparency, not so big on warmth. So that's it. But otherwise, it sounded really, really good. Alrighty, now it is time for, so Steve, what do you really think of the Denon PMA 1700 NE? It is like a time machine of sorts. It does bring me back to those Denon days of the 90s of this big, chunky amplifier, weighs nearly 39 pounds, feels solid. Look at those transformers on the inside. This thing is built like the good old days. So if you were tempted to buy, a 30 or 40-year-old Japanese amplifier, they're not going to necessarily be in the best shape. At least when you buy this one, it's going to last. It's really, really well built. sounds great, fully featured as far as I can tell. And I think it's exactly the right kind of amp, especially if you're into buying speakers with low sensitivity and low impedance. This puppy is going to do it for you. And now it's time for the Audiophiliac viewer system of the day. Ken sent this one in, and he is running a Cayin CS55A integrated amplifier, a Bell Canto DAC. Then there's a Creek Labs CD player, but only uses a transport, a Meridian streamer, and those speakers, those little speakers are serious speakers. Those are Sonus Faber Cremona Auditors, and they are supported, let's say, by a REL T7X subwoofer. Turntable is pretty nice. It's a clear audio concept wood with carbon fiber arm and a moving coil cartridge. Then there's also a project turntable with a Sumiko Songbird cartridge that he's actually selling to a friend. The phono stage is an EAT E-Glow PD2 with the Swagman, with a Swagman Labs linear power supply. Cables are by Straightwire Espresso. Those are the speaker cables, and the interconnects are Patterson Emeralds. The power management is done by Transparent. There's an Okinoki record cleaning machine. And the doggy, that's Brody Wolf, and he is a 1-year-old Australian Shepherd. Thanks, Ken. All right, we are back. My name is Steve Guttenberg, and I am the Audiophiliac. If you like what I'm doing here on the channel, please consider joining my Patreon. It's super easy to do. You can join for a couple of dollars a month, up to $100 a month right now. And for the $50 a month members and $100 a month people, you guys get to talk to me. We have conversations every month at the beginning of the month. What else? I did a new podcast. It's been a while since I've put together a new podcast. And this one I am really excited about. It's an interview with a female, a woman audiophile, and she's in deep. She works for Magnepan. She's been around the block. She knows audio. She is one of us. And I had the best time talking to her. Her name is Shar, and look for that on my podcast. You can hear it on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all those usual places, and on my own website for podcasts. After that, yes, please consider subscribing to the channel, and please like the videos if you actually like each episode. The ones that you like, give them the thumbs up. If you don't like them, it's okay too. Anyway, that's it for today. Hope to see you back here again very, very soon. Bye-bye.